Welcome to the Intro to Skydiving class at The Ohio State University. The following video will be a critical and integral part of the skydiving process. The content within this video will provide insight into the symbiotic relationship of the mind and the body, how high-stress situations can impact performance, and how we can take control over our actions to generate peak performance and achieve lofty goals. I encourage you to take this part of the class requirements seriously, as the methods contained within this training session have been proven over and over again to improve performance in skydiving and other high-stress situations. Some of the content will also be part of your final quiz at the end of this class, and your score on the final will dictate your ability to participate in skydiving activities. We will never see our full potential when we believe that the limits of our abilities are based on any of these four things: our historical or repetitive failures, who we are at this time, our understanding of the roles in which we are taught we are supposed to fit, and the rules by which we are told we must abide. Historical or repetitive failures do not define our potential, but all too often we see these failures as a limit to our potential to achieve goals. Many people will fail and stop trying, assuming that it's some type of cosmic sign that the goals they desire are not meant for them, or that they simply lack the ability to achieve such a goal. It can be disappointing to try our best and fail, and then watch the person next to you succeed with little to no effort. Our ability to succeed is not based on our comparison to the performance of the others, but instead is based on our ability to learn and perform better the next time we try. Thomas Edison tried over 1,000 light bulbs until he found the right sustainable design. He claimed that he hadn't failed 1,000 times, but instead, the invention of the light bulb took over 1,000 steps to get to the goal. When we fail, the next attempt simply begins from a better vantage point than the last 1,000 attempts. In this class, we will be performing activities that are alien to our normal daily lives. Performing them well is critical to safety and performance. You will fail to perform them correctly the first few times, and that's okay. Use what you learn in those moments of failure to try again and perform better the next time. We build on failures to achieve goals. If we believe that the failure is a sign to quit, or if we compare our personal success to the performance of others, you'll never see your full potential. The person you are at this time, you will never be again. You can't control it. You will always change, learn, and grow. The person you were when you graduated from grade school to junior high to high school and then to college have all been different people. While graduating from high school is a great achievement, it does not define your full potential. Any single achievement doesn't create a limit of your talents, your future, or your potential to achieve any goal you might desire. If you believe that this achievement or the next is the maximum amount of who you are or who you will be, you'll never see your full potential. Our understanding of the roles in which we are taught we are supposed to fit can limit us from achieving goals we want for ourselves. Not every role is taught to us like we learn in this class. Some roles are learned through positive and negative reinforcement by our families, peers, and cultural norms. I grew up in a small town in southern Indiana. The narrative I heard growing up all my life was, get a job, marry some local girl, have your 2.5 kids, a dog, a house with a white picket fence. They believed they were looking out for me, but I never wanted those things. I did what I was told, and I fell in line until I learned it wasn't my life I'd been living. I'm sure some of you can relate to this. If you want a big family and a house down the street from your parents, great. Do that. If you don't want kids and you want to travel the world or anything else, great. Do that. Just let it be your decision, not someone else's. If I had filled the roles my family wanted for me, I wouldn't be where I am today doing what I love to do. If you believe that the role you were taught is the only path for you, or that someone else knows your destiny better than you do, you'll never see your full potential. Our society trains us to not only obey the rules because they are best for the greater good, but we should encourage others to do the same. These rules can be defined as a written law or even a social norm such as jumping from an airplane is reserved for the insane and those with a death wish. These rules often do not take into account the need for growth to achieve a greater good. The simple lack of vision or plan to achieve a goal that has never been achieved prior to now doesn't make this impossible, it just makes you the first to achieve it. Now, I'm not telling you to go rob a bank or jump off of a bridge with no parachute, but we can challenge societal norms and rules without injury to our environment or society, and these things can lead us to great achievements. When you were touring OSU before your freshman year, did you hear they had a skydiving class? What were your thoughts? How does someone take a skydiving class in college? Yet there's a very strong and successful skydiving class right here at OSU. We intend to prove to you that you can fall from a moving aircraft and return to the planet safely with a new understanding of your potential. However, if you believe your goals are limited by the rules we're taught, you'll never see your full potential. Before we get too far into the class, we need to be clear about a few definitions. We'll be using these definitions later in class to discuss various potential scenarios in which we may find ourselves. Risk, the possibility for loss or injury. Risk is a variable we can impact directly through our actions. While we can't completely eliminate risks, we can reduce associated risk to a level that may be acceptable. One example might be a passing grade on the final quiz for this class. If you decide to study hard for the final, you reduce your risk associated with failing the final. Danger, the exposure to that loss or injury. This is always constant and equal to everyone taking the risk. For example, are you at any risk of failing the final in the skydiving class if you never take the skydiving class? Of course not. But what are the chances of passing the quiz if you don't take the risk? Also, there is no chance to be rewarded for taking the risk if you never take the class. Now, let's consider the act of skydiving as part of this class. What is your personal risk associated with skydiving? The possibility or loss of what? Clearly, we're putting our lives on the line in this singular activity. Loss of life, right? Remember, though, we risk our lives every day. Exposure to diseases, driving down the highway, getting on a commercial flight, or even something as simple as walking across the street on campus. With many of these things, we have little to no control over risk, but the risk is still there. At the very least, when making a decision to participate in skydiving activities, we go into it knowing it has very specific and often clear risks we can target for reduction. Through education and training, we can lower those risks to acceptable levels. Is the risk greater or less for you than one of your skydiving instructors? Your risk is much greater, but why? Because your instructors have had so much experience and training and education. But we all started out doing the exact same thing that you're doing now, so understand that some risks can be mitigated or even eliminated. Now, what about danger? Is that also dramatically different for you and your instructors? It is not. Danger is the exact same for you as it is for anyone else who decides to jump from an airplane. And reward, the beneficial return on your investment. If you go to a casino and you wager $1 on roulette, your risk associated with that act is simply the possibility to lose $1. There is no danger of losing $1 if you never go to the casino, though. So why risk $1 to begin with? Why expose yourself to that risk? Because there's potential reward for risking that $1. There's a potential to win more money than what you started with. So what is your why? Why are you taking this class? Don't say because I want to skydive. Everyone taking this class is taking it because they want to skydive. You need a credit? You could have taken fly fishing, bowling, or even sport for the spectator. Don't say because I'm adrenaline junkie. You need a rush? You can go home and watch a scary movie on the safety of your own couch. Why do you want to fall out of an airplane? You understand it goes against all logic. There's nothing normal about intentionally falling from a functional aircraft. I'm sure that anyone you told about this class has called you crazy or foolish. So then why do you persist? What is your reward for your investment by taking this class? Nobody can tell you why, but you need to know your own why. Maybe you're taking this class for a fantastic, long-lasting memory of your graduating year at OSU. Maybe you're taking the class because your friend said, "Hey, I signed up for the skydiving class." Maybe your why is to get over a fear of heights, feel the sensation of flying, or break out of a shell in which you've grown. Understanding the risk associated with the activity is crucial to performance and ultimately deciding on a calculated and more logical path. If you knew what your why is, you'd be able to weigh the risk against maybe, say, your reward and make a calculated decision. What if I told you that the injury rate for students taking this class is a 50% chance that you're going to break an ankle on landing? Are the risks now too great for your why? What if I told you that out of the 12,000 students who have taken this class at OSU, we've actually only had 2 broken ankles? I bet that you know at least 2 people who've broken ankles doing little more than nothing, like walking down the street, playing volleyball, or even skateboarding. Does that change your opinion about the risk to reward ratio for your why? And lastly, recklessness. To be reckless is to take risk without proper caution or without an understanding of the value of taking that risk. Recklessness has no place in skydiving or in this class. I would venture to say that taking a risk without knowing what type of reward you're looking for would almost be reckless. What steps can you take to reduce or lower your risk associated with skydiving? Learn as much as you can. Ask questions if you don't understand something. Practice, rehearse, get sleep, hydrate your body, and eat well. Do things that are proven to promote good performance. Use your common sense to prepare you to perform to the best on jump day. Do things such as don't go out and party the night before your jump date. Let's talk about fears and phobias and how that affects our ability to perform well. What is fear? In a very clinical sense, fear is described as to be afraid or feel anxious about a possible or probable situation, event, or outcome, an emotional response to one's environment. This seems very clinical in its definition, but if you really consider fear, it's really just an emotion, just like happiness, sadness, excitement, or anger. We all have an expectation of how our reality will work out. If I study hard and I score great grades on my homework, I should do fine on the test. What emotions would you experience if you did exactly as you expected? Maybe no emotions at all. What if you did poorly in spite of all of your efforts? Wouldn't you feel sad or disappointed? Maybe even angry because you feel the test wasn't fair. What if you did better than you expected? Excited? Happy? Accomplished? You see, the results of your efforts become an emotional response to your environment. What do you think your response will be when your instructor opens the door of a moving aircraft at 13,500 feet and asks you to step up to the door so he can fall out? Sad? Probably not. Happy? Also probably not. Afraid? Courageous? Determined? Maybe those would be more accurate. Now also consider how you might act as a response to those emotions. Do you think you would smile if you were afraid? Do you think you would cry if you felt courageous? What makes you afraid? We're only born with 2 fears, falling and loud noises. I'd venture to say that simply reviewing the details of this up-and-coming skydive class, you've already been a little fearful, excited, or uncertain. All these are typical emotional responses to your environment. Are you afraid of clowns, spiders, even the little ones, snakes, dogs, tight spaces, or needles? What's the most common fear among adults? I'll bet it never crossed your mind, but it's public speaking. You may find it hard to believe, but the majority of the skydivers you meet throughout this class and the instructors on your jump date are actually afraid of heights. That's right, afraid of heights. So your faith in these skydiving instructors might be a little shaken now. But wait until you gain an understanding of how the body and the brain work together to help you survive, and then form your opinions. Certainly many of you would question our ability to perform if we're afraid. How can we be good custodians of your safety if we're afraid? How can we jump out of planes if we're afraid of heights? Those of us who are afraid of heights are afraid on every skydive. But a small amount of fear is healthy. It proves you understand what's going on and what's at stake. And by the way, if your why was to cure you of your fear of heights, sorry, but skydiving doesn't fix it. Can we control how we feel? I'm sure many of you will consider a situation where someone hurt your feelings or let you down, and you felt sad or upset because of that environmental stimulus. If you handled it well, you remember how you acted in those moments and probably believe that you controlled how you felt. But that's not the same as controlling how you feel. That's controlling how you act. Controlling how you feel is almost impossible. However, we can control how we act in spite of how we feel. One of the biggest falsehoods we've allowed ourselves to believe is that we must act in congruence with our feelings. That's simply not true. It does not make you a hypocrite to act one way and feel another. It makes you a mature adult in control of your actions. If we live our lives afraid of, say, spiders, and never address this fear as a rational adult, we develop phobias to that environmental stimulus. Phobias are extreme, unsubstantiated fears that prevent normal or rational function. Leaving fears unchecked, they grow into larger issues that become phobias. Now that we've covered the basis for the beginning of this event, let's take a quiz to make sure we've retained the information from this video. Remember, there will be questions from this video on the final quiz as well. Feel free to watch this video as many times as necessary to really gain a clear understanding of what we need to know before moving on. Please begin your pre-class video quiz part 1 now, and begin your second and final video when you're finished. This quiz will require an access code PCVQ1. You'll be allowed 3 attempts to score 90% or better in order to pass this quiz.